The stars outside the large window of the Human Research Station blinked like cold eyes. Deep in Sector 7, far from Earth, Station Epsilon stood alone on a rocky moon orbiting a dead planet. Inside, the air buzzed with machines and quiet conversations. Life was calm, too calm. Dr. Ilara Mace, a senior scientist, sat in front of her console. Her fingers moved fast over the keys. Her face was serious, eyes locked on the data flashing on her screen. For the past 2 weeks, she had noticed strange energy readings from deep space. Pulses, slow, rhythmic, and unnatural. Something was out there. Something big. She leaned back in her chair and sighed. Why won't they listen? Ilara had already sent 4 reports to Central Command on Earth. Each time, the answer was the same. No threat detected. Continue with your research. Focus on your current mission. She slammed her palm on the desk. They think it's just space noise. Commander Holt, head of the station, entered the lab. His boots echoed on the metal floor. He looked tired but calm. Ilara, still on this energy signal. She turned to face him. Yes, and I'm telling you again, it's not natural. The pattern is too perfect. It feels like a message or a warning. Holt gave a short laugh. From who? Aliens? He walked to the coffee machine and poured himself a cup. Come on, Ilara. We've been out here for months. This place messes with the mind. Maybe you're just tired. Ilara stood. Commander, with respect, something is coming, and we need to prepare. I want permission to scan the outer perimeter again. Wider range. Holt shook his head. No. We already used too much power last week. HQ won't allow extra scans for ghost signals. Focus on your assigned research. That's in order. Ilara felt her stomach sink. She knew what she was feeling wasn't fear. It was instinct. A scientist's instinct. Something was wrong out there. Later that night, while the rest of the crew slept, Ilara stayed in the lab. She couldn't sleep anyway. The pulse signal had returned again. Stronger this time. She pulled up the data and compared it to last week's records. It was getting closer. She whispered to herself, "It's moving." Suddenly, her console flickered. Static filled the screen. Her eyes widened as new data began to stream in. Not just pulses now, but symbols. Unknown, ancient-looking symbols. She hit record. Then, without warning, everything went dark. The station lost power for 3 full seconds. Lights, computers, even oxygen systems, all down. Then, just as suddenly, everything came back. Ilara's heart was racing. She grabbed her communicator. Commander Holt, please respond. Silence. She tried again. Holt, this is Ilara. We lost power for 3 seconds. Total blackout. This time, a voice came through. Tired and annoyed. Relax, Ilara. Just a power glitch. Tech team says it's from the external solar grid. Nothing serious. She couldn't believe it. No, it wasn't just a glitch. That blackout happened exactly when the symbols appeared. Something triggered it. Something outside. Go to sleep, Doctor, Holt replied, and the line cut. The next day, life on Station Epsilon returned to normal. People laughed in the mess hall. Engineers repaired a few panels. The commander held a short meeting and told everyone not to worry about last night's blackout. But Ilara watched them all with a heavy heart. No one was listening. No one understood what was coming. She sat alone in the observation room, eyes locked on the stars. Then suddenly, a small dot of light appeared near the edge of the sector, too far for the naked eye, but Ilara saw it on her private scanner. It wasn't a star. It was moving fast. She checked the signal logs. The pulse had changed. It wasn't just a warning anymore. It was a countdown. The countdown had begun. Ilara didn't sleep. She sat in the dim glow of her lab, staring at the signal repeating across her screen. The numbers were clear now, not symbols anymore. They counted down from 72 hours. Whatever was coming would arrive in 3 days. But no one believed her. While the rest of Station Epsilon moved on like normal, Ilara prepared in secret. She backed up her research, saved the signal logs, and began scanning the outer perimeter using hidden subroutines. If command wouldn't allow her to scan, she'd find her own way. Outside the station's thick glass walls, space looked peaceful, silent, black. But Ilara had studied the universe long enough to know silence could be the loudest warning of all. On the second day, the pulse stopped. It vanished without a trace. No signals, no countdown, nothing. Commander Holt called it good news. Maybe your mystery ghost finally got bored. But Ilara felt colder than ever. She stared out the observation window, heart beating fast. "It's not gone," she whispered to herself. "It's here." Later that evening, the station's sensors picked up something strange. A shadow passed across the edge of the moon. It moved too fast to be a meteor, too quiet to be a ship. The crew brushed it off. "Could be a scanner glitch," one tech said. But Ilara knew better. She went to the data logs and replayed the moment. Frame by frame, the shadow had shape. Smooth, sharp-edged, not natural. Something artificial. She zoomed in. There it was. A ship, black as night, shaped like a spear. It didn't reflect light. It ate it, and it was slowing down. At midnight, alarms woke the station. Red lights blinked across every hallway. Emergency sirens echoed like screaming metal. Crew members ran from their bunks, grabbing suits and tools. Commander Holt appeared on the intercom. "Unidentified object approaching. All crew to stations. Defensive systems online." Ilara stood in the main lab, her screen flashing red. She didn't feel fear anymore. She felt something worse. Confirmation. They should have listened. The alien ship stopped 200 kilometers above the moon's surface. It didn't hail. It didn't scan. It simply hovered, like it was watching. Ilara joined Holt and the other officers in the command room. They stared at the object on the screen, a perfect triangle of darkness, not spinning, not moving, just waiting. "Send a signal," Holt ordered. "Try every language, every code." The communications team worked fast. They sent greetings, peace messages, trade offers, even musical tones. No reply. Seconds became minutes. Minutes became hours. Then the stars around the ship disappeared, one by one. "Commander," Ilara said quietly, "it's not just one ship." Everyone turned. She pulled up the outer scan data. Tiny specks were moving in the distance. Dozens. No, hundreds. They were behind it, she whispered. It was hiding them. Holt's face went pale. "Activate full defense grid. All hands prepare for potential contact." The room went silent. And then, the station shook. A low, deep sound rolled through the walls, like the hum of a giant creature breathing. Lights flickered. Some went out. The floor vibrated like a heartbeat. The first shadow had arrived. And it had brought an army. The silence broke at 3:14 station time. A sound unlike anything the crew had ever heard echoed through the base. Not an explosion, not metal tearing, but something alive. A deep, vibrating pulse that shook bones and walls alike. It came from the sky. Ilara bolted upright in the command room chair. The alien ship was still there, hovering above the moon like a shadow painted on the stars. But now, it was doing something. The front of the ship opened, not with doors, but like a flower blooming in reverse. A circular glow appeared in its center, spinning slowly, changing colors like a growing storm. "Commander Holt, we're detecting massive energy buildup," a technician yelled. Holt clenched his jaw. All shields up. Lock down every level. Ilara's eyes stayed locked on the screen. "It's not just energy," she said, her voice low. "It's aiming." Before anyone could speak again, the station's shield dome lit up bright blue. Then it cracked. Not shattered, cracked, like glass under pressure. And from the ship, a thin beam of light shot down. No heat, no blast. Just a line of light that touched the surface and erased it. The moon's ground under the station turned to dust in seconds. Craters vanished. Rocks melted. But the beam never touched the station directly. It was testing, measuring them. Inside the station, chaos broke loose. Sirens blared again, but louder now, warning of structural threats. Doors sealed. Emergency lights turned red. In the hangar, pilots prepared escape pods. But no one had anywhere to run. The alien fleet was now fully visible in the sky. Hundreds of ships, motionless, surrounding the station like silent predators. And still, not a single message. No demands. No language. Just action. Ilara pushed through the panicking crew and reached the backup comms room. There, she opened a secret channel to Earth Command, a protocol used only during extinction-level emergencies. She recorded her message quickly. "This is Dr. Ilara Mace from Station Epsilon. First contact confirmed. Hostile. Multiple ships. Intelligent. Silent. Destructive. This is not a war. This is a purge. We don't know what they want. We only know they are coming." She hit send, unsure if anyone would receive it. Back in the command room, Commander Holt watched the ships. His hand shook, but his voice stayed calm. "They could have destroyed us already," he said. "So why are they waiting?" Ilara returned, pale and quiet. "Because they want us to see." "See what?" She pointed at the screen. One of the ships had moved, just a little, close enough to scan. Its surface changed, patterns glowing across it like language or code. It was showing them something. An image appeared on the screen. Faint, blurry, but unmistakable. A ruined planet. Burned cities. Fallen towers. Black skies. Ilara whispered, "That's Earth." "No," Holt said. "That's Earth in the future. They're showing us what's next." Suddenly, one of the outer defense drones fired a missile. Without orders. A glitch. A nervous technician. No one knew. The missile flew toward the nearest alien ship and exploded in a bright flash. The ship didn't move. It didn't even blink. But something else did. The entire fleet lit up, not with weapons, but with eyes. Circles of red and gold across every ship. And in that moment, the humans understood. They were no longer being watched. They were being judged. The first human weapon had fired by mistake, but the next one would not. Commander Holt stood in the center of the war room, jaw tight, eyes locked on the enemy fleet above. The alien ships had not yet attacked again. They were waiting, watching, almost like they wanted a fight. Ilara pushed through the crowd, her voice sharp. "We can't win this with missiles. They're testing us, not for strength, but for something else." Holt turned to her. "Then what do you suggest?" "Surrender." "No," she said. "We show them something they don't expect." He raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" Ilara glanced at the sealed lower levels of the station. "Like the truth we buried. Years ago, Station Epsilon had been more than a research lab. It was also a vault, a place where Earth hid its most dangerous tech. Projects too risky, too powerful. Shut down, classified, and forgotten." But Ilara hadn't forgotten. She typed her clearance code into the old terminal. A green light blinked. The floor panels opened slowly, revealing a cold elevator shaft beneath. "Project Aegis," she said. "We built it for last resort defense, then shut it down before we even tested it." "What does it do?" Holt asked. Ilara looked at him. "It turns one station into a weapon, the size of a planet." The elevator doors slid open with a hiss. Dust flew up as Ilara and Holt stepped into the hidden chamber. Inside were machines unlike anything above, black titanium balls, glowing circuits, and a reactor core still humming after all these years. This was humanity's secret fist, waiting to be clenched. She walked over to the console. It was designed to bend gravity, she explained. A defense field that repels any energy, even light, if it's focused correctly. But we never had enough power to test it. Holt frowned. And now? Ilara smiled. Now we have them. Up above, the alien fleet began to shift again. One ship moved forward, slow, steady, deliberate. And for the first time, it sent a signal. Not words, not sounds, but a single image. A map of Earth's colonies, military bases, cities, marked in red. Targeted. It was a warning, or a promise. They were next. Back in the command room, Holt gave the order. All crew to battle stations. Prepare for activation of Aegis. Some officers hesitated. But sir, it's never been used. It could rip the station apart. Holt looked at Ilara. Will it hold? She didn't blink. It has to. The station began to change. Panels opened, revealing massive coils and hidden generators. The moon's entire surface seemed to hum as the ancient system powered up. Lights across the facility dimmed, all energy flowing into one purpose: survival. Outside, the lead alien ship charged again. This time, it was a weapon. A beam of golden light blasted from its center, faster than sound, brighter than fire. It hit the station and stopped. A shimmering dome, invisible to the eye, but strong as steel, bloomed around the station. The Aegis system had activated. The alien weapon bounced off, not once, but twice. Then vanished. The silence followed. Not fear, not peace. Shock. For the first time since arrival, the alien ships pulled back. Not far, just a little. But it was enough. Holt looked around the room. They're confused. Ilara nodded. Good. Now let's show them what it means to fight humans. They expected fire. Instead, they got silence. After Station Epsilon survived the alien attack using the Aegis defense, the enemy fleet pulled back. No more beams, no more messages, no movement. For 6 hours, the skies above the moon stayed still. Too still. Commander Holt paced the command center. They're planning something. No way they give up this easy. Ilara stood by the data station. Her fingers flew across the keys as she monitored deep systems. They've stopped fighting outside, she said quietly. But they're still here. Holt turned. What do you mean? She looked up, her face pale. They're inside our systems. It started small. First, the lights blinked. Then doors refused to open. Screens flickered. Life support dipped for exactly 2 seconds, then returned. It was subtle, clean, precise. It was replacing what already existed. Shut everything down, Holt ordered. Total blackout. Cut the AI cores. Purge the data lines. It won't work, Ilara shouted. They're not just using machines. They're using something else. Something that understands thought. Holt frowned. You think it's alive? Ilara stepped closer to the screen. I think it's a mind. A hive intelligence. Not bodies. Not soldiers. A living code that invades with ideas instead of bullets. He stared at her. Then how do we fight that? Hours passed. Half the station's systems were offline. Doors locked without warning. Oxygen levels dipped again, then returned. Memories were wiped from databanks. Worse, crew members began to report strange things. Voices over dead radios. Dreams shared by people who never spoke. Screens showing their own thoughts before they spoke them. The alien presence wasn't just in the machines anymore. It was learning the humans, one by one. Ilara knew time was running out. She went back to the lower levels, deeper this time, to the forbidden storage. Project Oracle. It had been shut down long ago. A machine built to interface directly with the human brain, designed for war. Too dangerous, too unpredictable. But now, it might be the only way to fight something that attacked the mind. She activated the pod. One slot, one neural link. It had to be her. As she lay inside the machine, the cold metal wrapped around her skull. Lights flickered, and the hum of the station faded away. Suddenly, Ilara's world changed. She wasn't in the lab anymore. She stood in a black void. No walls, no sky, no sound. Then the stars appeared, thousands of glowing red eyes, blinking open around her. The alien mind had seen her, and it was waiting. "You want to know who we are?" she whispered into the void. The stars pulsed. "You've erased others, burned their worlds. Why us?" A voice echoed inside her head. Not words, but meanings. "You are noise, unstable. You consume. You spread. You are error." Ilara stood tall. "Maybe, but we are also something you'll never understand." She opened her mind and showed them Earth. Not just the cities, the music, the stories, the courage, the hope. And in that moment, the stars paused. The mind faltered. They had never seen such defiance and chaos. Back in the station, Holt watched in silence as the alien code on the screens began to slow, then freeze. Ilara's vitals were spiking. "She's doing something," one of the medics whispered. "No," Holt said. "She's showing them who we are." Ilara wasn't breathing. Not in the way the crew understood. Her body lay inside the oracle pod. Still, pale, eyes closed. Machines tracked her heart, her brain, her soul. But inside the interface, she was somewhere else. Not space. Not a dream. She stood inside the mind of the enemy. Dark stars surrounded her, pulsing like nerves. The air shimmered with memory, not hers, but theirs. A galaxy burned. Planets turned to ash. Species erased like numbers from a screen. They weren't just destroyers. They were cleaners, wiping out what they called noise, unstable life, flawed life, life that dared to feel. "You fear what you cannot control," Ilara said into the void. The alien voice returned, silent but heavy, like thunder behind glass. "Emotion leads to war, pain, conflict. All species fall by it. We remove it. We cleanse the chaos." Ilara stepped forward. "You think we are weak because we feel." She raised her hand and showed them her memories. A father's last hug before a space mission. A little girl holding a broken robot, whispering to it like a friend. A soldier helping an enemy up from the ground, both too tired to fight. A mother singing to her child under the flickering stars of a refugee dome. "These are our flaws," Ilara whispered, "but they are also our strength." The alien stars around her rippled. They had no answer for it, because they had no word for love. Back on Station Epsilon, the lights began to change. The red glow on the alien ships faded. The code stopped rewriting itself. And then, for the first time since the invasion began, one alien ship moved backward, not to strike, to retreat. Commander Holt leaned forward in his chair. "What's happening?" One of the techs shook their head. "The attacks have stopped. Entire fleet just froze. One ship's pulling back. Others are hesitating." A voice came from the comms channel. Soft, human. But it wasn't from the station. It was Ilara. "I'm inside them," she said. "They don't understand how we've survived this long. How we still fight. Still hope." Holt stepped closer. "Can you stop them?" There was a pause. "No," she said, "but I can show them why we must be allowed to live." Inside the alien mind, Ilara opened every part of herself. She shared sorrow, love, rage, sacrifice. Moments when humans stood against impossible odds, not because they could win, but because they had to. She gave them humanity. Raw, unfiltered, painful, beautiful. And the stars inside the alien void began to flicker, not with anger, but with confusion, and something else. Curiosity. "You feel it now, don't you?" she whispered. the echo of something you thought you erased. A single word formed in the dark, sharp, broken, new. Why? Ilara smiled. Because life without feeling isn't life at all. Suddenly, her mind snapped back. The oracle pod hissed open. Cold air rushed out. Ilara gasped, her first breath in hours. Crew members cheered. Monitors lit up with new data. The alien fleet was leaving. One by one, the ships turned away from the moon. No attack, no war, just silence, and a slow, quiet exit into the stars. They didn't understand us, Ilara said softly, sitting up. Holt stood beside her. And now, she looked up at the stars. They don't agree with us, but they heard us. And maybe, for the first time, they felt us. The stars had never looked so still. For the first time in days, no enemy ships hovered above the moon. No weapons glowed. No warnings blinked. Only silence and peace. Ilara stood on the edge of the station's observation deck, helmet in hand, hair blowing gently from the recycled air vents. The surface below was scared, black streaks where the alien beam had tested them. But the station stood tall, alive. Commander Holt joined her. They're gone, he said quietly. Just left. Ilara nodded. Not in defeat, not in fear, just changed. The crew had begun repairs. Panels were replaced, systems rebooted, data recovered. But something deeper had shifted, not just in the station, but in the people. A quiet understanding passed between them now. They had stared into the void and been seen, not as threats, not as prey, but as something more. Ilara recorded a new message to Earth Command. This is Dr. Ilara Mace, Station Epsilon. Hostile contact has ended. Fleet withdrew with no further aggression. Project Aegis was activated, but more important than defense was connection. She paused, then added, "We didn't win with weapons. We reached them with what makes us human. Emotion, memory, meaning. They saw it, and they chose to leave." She stopped the recording. For a moment, she wondered, would Earth understand? Would they believe it? Later, Holt gathered the crew in the central atrium. No alarms, no suits, just people, tired, dirty, alive. He stood on a small crate and looked at them all. "No medals today," he said. "No victory speeches. What we did here won't be in the news for weeks. Maybe never." He looked toward Ilara, then back to the others. "But we did something more important than win a battle. We made something look at humanity, really look, and decide we deserve to exist." A pause. "We made the stars blink." Outside the station, the moon's surface shimmered faintly. A small object sat where the alien ship had hovered. Left behind. A gift. A message. Or simply, a marker. Ilara and a small team retrieved it. It was black, smooth, silent. But when they touched it, it lit up, not with symbols, but images. Moments from her memory. The one she had shown them. The child with the robot. The mother singing. The soldier helping his enemy. The aliens had taken nothing, but they had kept those echoes and left them in return. In the days that followed, Earth responded. Disbelief at first, then silence, and finally, a question. What do we do now? Ilara replied simply. We keep going. We build. We remember. And when the stars look at us again, we shine back. A month later, Station Epsilon was fully restored, but something new was added. A tower. Not tall, not armed, just a beam of light reaching up into space, pulsing slowly like a heartbeat. It didn't scan. It didn't threaten. It simply said, "We are still here." The universe would go on. Other dangers would come. But now, somewhere out there, something ancient carried a piece of humanity inside it. And maybe one day when the stars burned cold and the machines fell silent, that peace would still echo, a small voice in the dark, whispering, "We were human, we felt, we fought, we loved, and we endured."